So I went over to NFL.com, folks. We have a fresh mock draft to look at. I'm very excited about this. Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft 2.0. Who do you think he's got going number one?
Bryce Young.
Incorrect. Jalen Carter to the Chicago Bears. Jeremiah says he's not projecting trades in the mock draft this early in the offseason, but I'll be surprised if the Bears end up holding on to this number one overall pick. That said, I don't think they'll move down beyond the range of one of the top defensive players, which is why he's got Jalen Carter. Let's go to the Carolina Panthers in the 9th spot, right? Who do you think Daniel Jeremiah, mock draft 2.0, NFL.com, what he's got the Panthers doing?
He's got the Panthers taking Anthony Richardson.
Incorrect. He's got from Northwestern offensive lineman.
Oh, Skorenko.
Peter Skorinski.
Ah.
Skorinski. Quote, I'm assuming the Panthers don't trade up to land a quarterback and instead go the veteran route at that position. I don't disagree with that. Skoronski can slide inside to play guard at Carolina, teaming up with Ike Ekwonu to give the Panthers 2 building blocks for the offensive line. Kind of important.
Don't hate it.
Don't hate it. Frank Reich knows the impact of investing heavily in the line of scrimmage, having spent time with the Eagle staff before he left for Indianapolis. Obviously, that's something that he knows.
As if the Colts didn't have a good offensive line
when
Jonathan Taylor led the NFL in rushing.
I know.
The year before.
I know. But anyway, regardless.
Okay.
I agree with Jeremiah that the Panthers will go the veteran route. I know the Panthers are talking about, oh, no, we're going to take a quarterback. Why does anybody believe front offices at this point?
Not at 9, not with that option where it does feel like the top 3 guys will be on. Even with the top 3 guys, C.J. Stroud is the only one I have confidence in.
So I think the reason why Scott Fitterer and the Panthers, or at least the talk around the Panthers in taking a quarterback, or that, I think our guy's in the draft, is because they want to see if they can move back.
Okay.
That's my theory on this. Because to your point, there's going to be some people that are reaching for quarterbacks. They want to make sure that, let's say the first 3 guys are gone, but you still need a quarterback. You're willing to move up to get whoever it is that's remaining.
Yeah, that's going to push 3 talented players down to that spot. Yes.
So that's why I think the Panthers are talking the way that they're talking. I think they're trying to generate interest to move back because that's the one thing under Matt Rule that they lack is draft position. So let's see if they can replenish what they've lost over the last couple of years under Matt Rule. And this gets us to the veteran quarterback route. There are plenty of veteran quarterbacks out there to be had. And there's also Lamar Jackson, which that can get a little dicey with the Baltimore Ravens. But let's focus on quarterbacks that don't require you to deal with franchise tags and giving up 2 first-round picks and various other things. Let's look at Derek Carr. Derek Carr is probably going to cost around $45 million. And David Carr, his brother, Panthers legend, Mr. Mittens, spoke on his brother and how this process is going to be.
So he went there to get a feel for how they work, from the top down. And everyone he met, and we knew he would love Robert Sala. I've known Robert for a while. MJ knows Robert. He's fantastic. And they hit it off, and they would love to work together. But there's a lot of questions that have to be asked. He has to find out how the inner workings of, obviously, the front office works, but then also, I think the most important thing for him as a veteran quarterback, what is it going to be like as an offensive play caller and a quarterback in that relationship? Todd Downing is there. He has a relationship with Todd. Nathaniel Hackett is also there. So how does all that work? And they had a good chat. They talked about a lot of different things. And obviously the team is just in need of quarterbacks and some stability there. They have a lot of good components. There's a lot of things that are very positive about the Jets. He had a great trip. So it's honestly, it's going to be a long process, though. He really only has the Saints, the Raiders, and the Jets to kind of compare those 3 places. And so he wants to do his due diligence and see as many places as he can.
It's going to be a long process, he says, a long process. All right, so what about the Panthers? Why didn't David Carr, where he quarterbacked the Carolina Panthers, come up? And Frank Reich met with the media today, and Reich talked about how they're not really ready yet. He said, quote, interesting question. We're really literally sitting down with the guys today. He's talking about the quarterbacks that are currently on the roster. First staff meeting will be tomorrow, but I've kind of met with the guys individually saying, here's what we're doing. Step 1, let's evaluate our roster. So we're really just starting that process. Step 2, evaluate the free agents. Everybody's got their list. Step 3, now you're going to go through the college guys. And when it came to David Carr specifically, he's like, we're not really ready to discuss the specifics of that because we're just now beginning. So maybe David Carr's name does come up. But you got to remember, Giglio, we've talked about this, Jimmy Garoppolo with the San Francisco 49ers. We'll see how that plays out.
Garoppolo, Ryan Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there might be some guys out there that are worth taking a look at if you're the Panthers. But when we talked to Frank Reich, I think he was in a situation where, hey, man, I did this with the Colts where I had 5 different quarterbacks in 5 years. And it's a lot. And, and you could tell he doesn't want to do that. So I would think if they were to stay at 9 or maybe even move up in this draft, I could see them saying, all right, Sam Darnold, you're coming back. You're our quarterback this year, but with the expectation that the guy we just drafted is going to replace you, and sooner rather than later.
So speaking of Frank Reich, I did mention that he met with the media, and with all this talk of, all right, well, who's the quarterback going to be? Who's the quarterback going to be? There is the unresolved issue as to, are you going to call the plays?
Was it really unresolved?
Maybe not.
Because his answer at the press conference really said it all.
He answered it. That's why I thought it was funny. It's like, did we really think that Frank Reich wasn't going to be calling plays based on that introductory press conference? So here's Frank Reich crystallizing how it's going to be in Carolina.
I went into the process of, thinking about calling plays, not calling plays. There is going to be some point that I'm going to pass it off. I know that's going to be hard, and I've been laughing. I've laughed with Thomas about that already. I said, I'm going to pass it off at some point. I don't know when, but, and I think there will be a time and a place, and I think it'll become apparent when that is. But, I think the right thing for me to do for our team and for our offense right now is for me to continue to kind of use my experience there, but draw on. I'll lean heavy on Thomas. I can already tell. It's been a couple days, and I've already leaned on him hard on a couple things. I had a long meeting with him this morning, and I felt wisdom, conviction, strength. So that relationship is going to be really good.
So he's talking about offensive coordinator Thomas Brown.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's talking about. But yeah, I mean, we talked about this probably ad nauseum to certain people, that when Matt Rule was hired, it never made any sense to me that the most important position on his staff, he wasn't either making those calls. And if you're not going to be the person making those calls, you better damn well trust the person with your life, because that is your life. It's your job. It's your livelihood. And for him to have no relationship with Joe Brady just never made any sense to me at all. So for Frank Reich, yeah, I do not begrudge him that he has had success as a play caller in the NFL. And if it becomes overwhelming for him, yeah, then you're putting yourself in a position where Thomas Brown could take that over.